Hello and welcome to the Six String Collective. In the first of our luthier interviews, I'm talking to Tom Sands, who's a British luthier from Yorkshire, about his apprenticeship with Urban Samoji, his rapid rise since starting his company in 2017, and right through to some exciting news about a new model that he is building right now and will be available to purchase through the Six String Collective. I hope you enjoy it. Well, good morning, Tom. Thank you for joining me today, and welcome to the Six String Collective.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you for joining us as a luthier here. This new venture, the Six String Collective, and we have some pretty exciting news to talk about today and to announce to the world.
Yes. Yeah.
Obviously, for anyone who isn't aware or haven't heard of Tom Sands guitars, I mean, where have you been if that's the case? But you were a apprentice to Urban Samoji, and you completed your apprenticeship in 2017, going on to form your own company as Tom Sands Guitars, and it's been quite a rapid rise in the last 7 years since you completed that apprenticeship.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of felt like a bit of a whirlwind, with the Samoji apprenticeship. I contacted Irvin, I think it was in 2014, at a period of my life when I was at a bit of a crossroads and was feeling pretty unfulfilled creatively. Irvin was one of many people that I really respected and admired, and was somebody that I kind of looked to. I needed to kind of get my mojo back creatively. I was working in fine furniture, and I just kind of I'd kind of come to a bit of a dead end with it, and was feeling a little bit lost. And Irvin, as I was saying, Irvin was somebody that I approached initially, just looking for maybe a little bit of guidance, a little bit of inspiration. As somebody who was, at the top of their field and had been revolutionary in many ways, and somebody who I found very inspiring and interesting. And my first contact with Irvin, I really didn't know what to expect. I certainly wasn't looking for an apprenticeship or anything like that with him at the time. But right from our first kind of contact, we kind of hit it off, and he invited me to apprentice with him. And we've talked about this many times in the past, but it was something that just kind of, it felt like right place, right time. And I was very open to following whatever path presented itself to me at that time. So I moved to California without any kind of preconceived notion of what was going to happen. I was very much just wanting to work at the very highest level and challenge myself creatively and technically. And the Samoji workshop there was no better place to do that. And so I was in California for 2 years, and it kind of feels like a lifetime ago now, but it was this very intense period. I always tell people it was like the most intense period of my entire life. And it was a lifestyle. Everything was about guitars. We were in the workshop working crazy hours, working on Irvin's projects, of course, but also working on our own projects and kind of trying to find our own, I say myself and the other apprentices that were there during my kind of tenure there. And of course, I was there for 2 years, and at the end of it, you kind of get spat out. My visa came to an end, and it was like, you have to leave the United States now. And that's, there's this very definite kind of cutoff point. And I kind of came back to the UK, and it was this huge culture shock, and um, it was a kind of sink or swim moment. You know, it's like I'd had this phenomenal training, and I really had, found myself, if you like. I was very committed, and it was like, okay, this is what I was looking for. Now I found it, and now I've got to run with it. Um, and I was very fortunate early on to have some great clients, and word of mouth. The news that I was building and was the first UK Samoji apprentice kind of got out quite quickly, and I built some good guitars, had some very good clients. I started working with you at the North American Guitar quite early on, and I think that I landed in a really sweet spot when it came to the appreciation of hand built instruments. And that I feel like there was a bit of a boom that I landed into, and so it does feel like a lot of right place, right time. But also, I worked really hard and I was really passionate about it and still am. So um, it's something that I love. I love the work. I love the challenges. I love the business side of things, and I love working with my customers. So um, yeah, a bit of a kind of ramble there, but it's been 7 years has gone like in a flash, and yeah, it's been a whirlwind journey.
It has, absolutely. And obviously we've got an exciting new model to talk about today, but can you tell us a bit about the three models that you've been building for a few years now?
Yeah, so followers of my work will know that I build three models that are all kind of loosely built on or designed around guitars that I was very familiar with when I was working with Irvin. So we have the Model L, which stands for large, the Model M, medium, and the Model S, small. Um, this was a very deliberate departure from your classic or more widely recognized guitar nomenclature. So the OM, the double O, the modified dreadnought. I always found that those naming conventions were quite confusing to me, because I think all luthiers have their version of the OM, or the dreadnought or the double O or the parlor or whatever, but and they're all borrowed from either Gibson or Martin, right? And I always found it quite confusing when I was working with Irvin, because Irvin's OM is not really much like a Martin OM, and it's very different from other builders who build OMs. Um, and so, just for me, as being relatively new to the world of acoustic guitars at the time, I didn't know. I didn't have a picture in my head of what an OM actually was supposed to be, um, and especially with things like a double O, like a Martin double O is very different from a Gibson double O. And I found it very, very confusing. And I also felt like for a lot of people, it would immediately conjure up an image of what a guitar was and what the guitar should be. So it's like, oh, it's an OM, so it's going to be this. Whereas when I was building or starting to think about what instruments I wanted to build, I was aware that my ideas of what an OM was might be very different to what somebody else would think about. And so it felt, I felt like I just needed to kind of jettison that and come up with something that for me made a lot more sense, a small, a medium, and a large. And um, so I kind of went down that road, and I also realized that it was going to be quite important for me to differentiate myself from the phenomenal builders that had come out of the Samoji shop previously, Julian Gaffney, Leo Buendia, Jason Costal, Ray Kraut, all of these guys who are doing amazing work. I immediately wanted to kind of put a line in the sand and go off on my own path. And so yeah, so the small, the medium, and the large. The large, is an homage to the Somoji modified dreadnought. The medium, I guess, is my take on the OM. Although it's the medium guitar. It's the guitar that kind of sits in the middle. It's 16-inch lower bout. So it's a chunky guitar. And then I have the Model S, which is the small, which I guess is loosely based on a Somoji 00. And I've been building these guitars for 7 years now, and I'm pretty comfortable with each of those guitars and their unique voices. All the guitars have a voice which is distinctly their own and very separate from each other. I wanted to have three guitars that didn't have a huge amount of tonal kind of crossover. So I've been building the three models for 7 years now, and my kind of building style has evolved, and my voice has evolved as a builder, and I wanted to see what else was out there and what else that I could do with the instrument. And recently, about a couple of years ago, I acquired this guitar, which is just the most wonderful, wonderful instrument. This is, I'm sure many people will recognize it. This is a Matsuda gunpowder parlor guitar. And it's an instrument that I just absolutely adore. So I got this about 2 years ago, and this was built in 2012. It's a guitar that I've known about for a long time. It has this very, very interesting gunpowder scorched soundboard, and when I got this guitar, I was completely blown away by the voice. The sound that it produces. It's got a great sound. It's a big sound for such a small guitar, and it was just completely inspiring. The fact that Michi was able to get such a big sound from a small guitar really kind of got my juices going, and kind of got me thinking about, well, what can I get more from my small bodied guitars? It was always something that people would say to me. It's like, oh, you're getting such a massive sound from the Model S. And then I played this guy and I was like, wow, okay, can we go even further, and can we go smaller and still get something out of it? And Ted, my assistant, he's always been on at me to build a parlor style instrument. We both really love small bodied guitars, and which is kind of funny because we're both like 6'3", and so small guitars look absolutely ridiculous on us. But we both love the smaller bodied guitars. And then when this showed up, it really inspired me to start thinking about designing my own really small bodied instrument. And so we came up with the XS, or as we've kind of nicknamed it, the Little Un. And it's in production now, and we have one on the way for you.
That's the breaking news, isn't it? That's it's amazing. So this is the world exclusive first
Yes.
build of the Model XS.
Yes.
And it's I'm incredibly excited that it's going to be available through the Six String Collective, and it's, as you say, it's in production now. So what can you tell us about this first one that you're building?
Yeah, so when we first started talking about your new venture, it coincided with my new model, and so I thought it'd be really fitting to kind of celebrate both of those things and really kind of pull out all the stops when it came to Tonewoods. And so I have the back in front of me here. Um, this
Incredible.
is a really ridiculous set of Brazilian rosewood. Um, was when the XS model came to fruition, this was the perfect piece of wood for it because it's the XS is like it's a 14-inch lower bout, so it's a tiny piece
Yeah.
of it's a tiny guitar, and we were able to get this beautiful set from it with matching sides, which I'm really excited about. Here is the body for this guitar. It's
Amazing.
I've got some protective tape on here, which I'll take off. Um, so yeah, so we've got some absolutely gorgeous Brazilian rosewood, really old, stable material. Um, we've gone with some really gorgeous German spruce for the soundboard.
I
This
was going to
is,
ask you about the top. What was behind your choice of German spruce for the top?
I mean, Brazilian rosewood and German spruce is just such a classic. Sorry, what did I just say then? Brazilian rosewood and German spruce
Yeah.
is just such a classic combination. It's really hard to go wrong with those two tone woods. And again, a couple of years ago, I was making a YouTube video about tonewood grading, and I basically contacted every single supplier of European spruce that I could find, and purchased master grade material from them, um, to do comparative tests with, comparing the density, stiffness, all of the kind of tests that I run my materials through, and I found one particular supplier in Germany whose material was just superior in every way. And it's expensive material, but I kind of purchased as much of it as I was able to at the time, and I'm kind of still drip feeding more material in when I can get it. And it's kind of what I refer to as the holy grail German spruce. It's just absolutely perfect. And so we've got a really gorgeous, beautiful, tight grain, straight grain, gorgeous color, German spruce for the soundboard, to go with the Brazilian, um,
Amazing.
for
That's the
for the
video
back
thumbnail right there.
for the back and side.
The sides on that are quite thick sides. Are there any insights you can give me to how you've kind of approached the construction of the guitar?
Yeah, so there's lots of things to say. This soundboard is awaiting its voicing, but yeah, there's lots and lots of things going on with this, and yeah, you're right. The sides do look very thick. You will notice that there's no kerfing, there's no linings on the
Yeah.
inside of this guitar. So with with this guitar being so small, it's important that the structure is very efficient. It's important that all of the vibrational energy from the strings is going into driving the soundboard and isn't being lost anywhere else in the structure. So we want to make sure that none of that vibrational energy is being absorbed by the sides and dispersed as essentially just heat. And so we've gone with, I mean, this is a structure that we've been using on our guitars for a number of years now. It's kind of our take on what are known as structured sides, which you might have seen a lot.
Yeah.
They're very popular. It's a very popular constructional technique that's kind of that people are using now, and it's essentially it's a laminated composite structure. So you have your outer layer, which is your, in this case it's our Brazilian rosewood. Then you'll have an inner core. If you spend time on Instagram, you will have seen a lot of people using these structured sides, which is typically something like a cedar or a very lightweight wood that has had lots of kerf cuts in it, similar to the kerfed linings, which allows you to then bend that very, very easily. And then they'll have like an inner veneer on the inside. So you'll have like a 3-ply structure. And what that does is it allows you to have an incredibly stiff rim set or rim assembly for not very much mass. So this is, I'm not a super strong guy, but I'm squeezing this really quite hard, and there's absolutely no deflection. This is one of our Model S's. So we have, what it gives us is a really, really stiff rim assembly, and kind of think of it like a drum head. All of that energy is staying in the top and back, and it is kind of bouncing between the two and not going into moving the sides around. It also gives a really solid structure to bolt the neck to. One of the common problems that we see with old guitars is them needing a neck reset because the rim assembly is not strong enough to resist the pull of the string, and you get that kind of kink at the body joint. But going back to this structure, this is our take on the structured sides. One of the things, I built a few guitars with structured sides, and I really liked a lot of things about it and about them, apart from the mass. Quite often I build a structured sides guitar with the kind of the curved inners, and I would end up with a guitar that just weighed an absolute ton. And so, without going into too much detail, this is our take on structured sides. So we've changed up what the core construction is, how it's laid up, and the materials that we've used for it. What we've ended up with is a much lighter construction. It's much stiffer. It's much easier for us to produce. It uses less material. And so it's doing all of the positives that we're looking for, without adding a ton of mass, which is what I was finding with a lot of the more typically structured sides construction. But long story short, it's all in service of making sure that we're not losing energy from the strings, and it's all staying in the soundboard, and allowing the top and the back to resonate as efficiently as possible.
That's how you're building your other models as well now.
Yes, yeah. So it was the only option really for us to go with this because of the size of the soundboard. I wanted to make sure that this guitar, or give it as much chance of having a full voice and not that kind of boxy sound that you would typically associate with a parlor guitar. Making sure that we have a really solid foundation for the top to work efficiently, and be able to resonate freely. So, yeah.
And obviously having the Matsuda there as well is kind of giving you a great, not necessarily a reference point, but certainly a great sort of influence.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of things going on with this guitar structurally that, I'm not even going to attempt to do on my guitar. Like Mitch's brain works in a way that is just completely unique to him, and trying to understand that is is beyond my pay grade. So, this is certainly the inspiration behind my XS model. But there are lots of things about this that are very, very different to my version. This guitar has a beautiful elevated soundboard with all sorts of kind of internal buttressing, and just you need to get a mirror and have a look inside this, because it's just absolutely bananas what's going on in here. But it is very, very different to how we're approaching things. But if I can get my little guitar to sound anything close to this one, I'll be very happy, because it really is. It has a voice that doesn't align with its size.
Are we? We're not going to see a new sort of elaborate Stouffer style headstock on a Tom Sands, are we?
So we actually have this was our first template that we made up here. So which way around will it be for you? Yeah, like this. So with it being a smaller instrument, and very much a nod to the kind of slotted head Martins, we wanted to change things up a little bit with the headstock. So this is going to have like a modern slotted headstock. It's going to have an open headstock with the tuners mounted on the sides, and we're going to use. Hopefully they're in here. No. Yeah. Some of our really gorgeous signature Scheller tuners, which I don't know if you can see.
Yes.
Have you seen those?
Oh, fantastic! Wow, so they even match the headstock outline as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So these are just, German engineering at its finest. These are our signature tuners from Scheller. We've been using these on our guitars now for a number of years, and they're just so smooth. I just can't say enough good things about these, and they're going to pair really nicely with this guitar. So we've got.
I know previously, a few years ago, we had quite an in-depth conversation about the different kind of tuners that you tried and not been happy with, and so it's great to see that you've kind of settled on something that is, I guess, kind of matches the quality of your instruments.
Yeah, there's so many different manufacturers out there doing really phenomenal work, and over the years I've tried just about all of them, and they've all got their kind of downsides, but these are ones that I've just settled on, and well, I say settled. These are ones that I've chosen to use and have done for a number of years now, and yeah, I just love everything about them. They're so smooth. They don't have any of that backlash that you might sometimes associate with an open geared tuner. I just think it's so cool that they're able to incorporate my my headstock shape in there.
Yeah.
They also do custom buttons for me, so they're going to be using some of the Brazilian offcuts from the boards that I have of the guitar that this guitar is made out of. And then just before the call, I was showing you these. This big board of Brazilian rosewood.
Yeah, I was going to say you kind of, as well as the back and sides, there's a lot of other sort of Brazilian rosewood appointments on this guitar.
Yeah, exactly. So, I wanted to kind of go belt and braces with the whole, making it as fancy as we possibly could. And again, this is some more Brazilian rosewood that I recently acquired, again from trawling the internet. This came from a ukulele builder in North Berwick in Scotland. And we were on holiday there like last week, a couple of weeks ago, and I was just again happened to be going, through the internet and found somebody selling Brazilian rosewood, and they just happened to be 5 minutes down the road from where we were staying. So I was like, of course, I got to get that. So this is going to be, you can see that it was marked up for ukulele sets, but I'm going to cut this up. So we have matching fingerboard. The bindings will match. The bridge will match. The head cap will all match. So Brazilian rosewood is such a precious, scarce resource, especially here in the UK. It's impossible to find, and when I do, I always jump on it. So yeah, it's going to be Brazilian everywhere. It's going to be a really special guitar.
Can't wait to play it. Can't wait to see it as a
on
guitar as well.
on the inside as well. This is the braced back. So because the guitar is so small, you were talking about the plate thicknesses.
Yeah.
A thinner top and a thinner back is a more responsive top and back.
Absolutely.
But of course, there's a trade-off and there's a balance point to be found. The thinner you go with something, the less stiff it becomes, the more brittle. The more likely it is to, or the more potential there is for problems down the road. And so with this back, we've just slightly reinforced it with a kind of Traugott or Stephen Stram style kind of central spine. So what this is going to do is it's floating off the back. So the way I'm thinking about it is that we still have all of the kind of vibrational freedom between the braces, but we've just reintroduced a little bit of lateral or longitudinal stiffness with this floating spine, which, I mean, it looks really cool for a start, which is really quite important.
It looks like a piece of engineering. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we've capped it off with a little bit of the Brazilian that was off cut from the back. So big nod to Stephen Stram, and I just think it looks so cool. So yeah, that's gonna be awesome. So that's a first time we've done that with on a guitar. So it's allowing us to keep the back as thin as possible without interfering too much with the structural integrity of the wood itself. So there you
amazing. Go. Fantastic. And so it's in build now. When do you think we might see a finished instrument?
So I'm going to be voicing this next week, and then we're going to close the box, and everything starts to come together pretty quickly after that. We get onto the binding, I'll start working on the neck, and then we'll get it into finish, hopefully by the end of June. So yeah, July time, I reckon this will be ready to go.
Amazing. I wanted to ask you about the video I saw that you posted recently with Tony Polcastro, kind of, and how you're always very generous with your time in terms of not only in terms of the content that you're creating on YouTube on your own guitars, but also in terms of talking about and championing other luthiers as well. How would how do you see the luthier world these days? How has it kind of changed in recent years? And
it's fascinating, and it's been really interesting to see it evolve just in the short time that I've been involved. I think the luthier community is, generally speaking, very open, and it is it is community is the key word. Everybody is prepared to help others, and share ideas, share knowledge, information. Whether that's suppliers or techniques. More often than not, if you contact another luthier and just say, hey, I'm really struggling with this. I see that you've done something like this in the past. Maybe you could give me some pointers. There's always going to be somebody on the other end of the phone who's willing to have a chat with you. And I remember when I was getting started, I was very, very green. I didn't know a huge amount about acoustic guitars at all. I'm a bass guitar guy, and so there was I had a lot of questions for a lot of people, and especially when I was, weighing up whether or not going to the US and studying with Irvin was going to be the right thing for me to do. I spoke to a lot of past apprentices and other builders, and people were always very, very generous with their time, and very supportive and very helpful. And so doing the video that you mentioned, is in part a way of kind of giving back to the community and being a supportive member of it. But I think more broadly, I think the last time I went to the Woodstock Guitar Show, I think it's a couple of years ago now, I was just blown away by all the young builders, and the quality of the work. And I think that we live in the social media generation now, and everybody's posting about what they're doing, all of the time, and sharing their processes in videos of, like, this is how I make a nut, or this is how I carve my braces, or this is how I shape my neck. And you see echoes of that instructional content in other people's posts and other people's work, and it's all culminating in just moving the guitar forward. And we have one thing that Tony said in the video towards the end. He was like, can we just stop for a minute and just appreciate, like, how incredible it is to be able to do this kind of video and to see all of these amazing instruments that aren't just Fender or Gibson copies or Martin copies, or they're all really, really unique and really beautiful and really amazingly well crafted, and sounding insane as well. And I think a lot of that has to do with the kind of social media element, that people see what other people are doing, and people are building, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. It's like we're all pushing each other forward, in service of the instrument, and making better and better and better and better guitars. And for me, that's really exciting, and it's part of the reason that this guitar exists, and it's the reason that this guitar has a floating back brace on it. Because I've spoken to the luthiers about how they've done it, and I've seen their techniques, and thought, you know what, I want to try that in my own way, and yeah, it's a great time to be involved in luthiery. There's lots of people doing really fascinating work and keeping everyone on their toes as well.
Yeah.
I'm a very competitive person, and I don't like not being the best. So, whenever I see something new or exciting, I'm like, okay, we've got to, like, take it further, and we've got to step up, and we've got to make sure that we're always pushing and trying new things. And it's a fantastic time to be involved in this work.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for your time, and I'll check in with you soon.
Awesome.